Oh,
series.
on
And speaking of consumable media, if you want to learn about...
Now, I don't talk about my personal life on here too often, but I am a literature geek. Okay, I had the 2 big, tall Pippi Longstocking dolls when I was a little girl. Like the boy, the girl. I used to braid her hair and leave her on my bed all day and say, "I'll be back after school."
I would have been spooked out with that.
No, that was my friends.
Okay? I hear you, but I would have been spooked out. I remember my sister having like this life-size doll. Could have been that, you know what I'm saying?
It was my height.
I think she kept it in the doorway kind of to scare us from going into her room. So that's kind of like my little trauma story behind big dolls.
You crazy.
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, babe?
Today we're back with another American reaction.
Yes.
Super excited about this video, guys. If you're new to us and we're new to you, make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 100K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, all right? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's get it.
And our wallets were viciously attacked by Norwegian prices of anything. But now it's time. Welcome to the final boss of Scandinavia, Sweden. Whew, it's hot. I'm all hot and sweaty right now.
You know the drill.
Oh yeah, okay.
Kick it.
Oh yeah, Noah's back, by the way.
Here we are.
Yep.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. And get a Geography Now t-shirt or Geography Now merch at geographynow.com. Not selling out if it's your brand. Anyway, alright you guys, this is it. Our last Nordic country.
But what about...
You're a constituent.
But what about?
You're an unincorporated territory. But what about me? We already did your video. I even went there. Okay, anyway, I actually wanted to go to Sweden for this episode, but at the last minute, Sweden was like, "Dude, we're gonna close off our borders to anyone outside the EU. But you know how it goes. The show must go on. And if we can't go to Sweden, we're gonna bring Sweden to us, and in the best possible way, with real Swedish people. And I mean like real Swedes, not those 5th generation Minnesota Swedes that eat lutefisk once a year. And so with that, say hi to Jonas and Carolina. Come on in. Woo! Yeah, I got 2 Swedes. So you guys are the real deal, Swedish, straight up, right?
I was born in Sweden and lived there for 10 years, and then my mom moved me to the enemy, to Norway.
Oh, so you're half Norwegian.
Snap.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm from Skåne, so we might have some angry people out there claiming I'm Danish, but
It was LA. You guys were the best I could find. So anything you want to say to the Swedish subscribers?
Nah, I'm excited for you guys to learn more about your country. Our country.
By the way, where are you guys from?
I'm from Helsingborg.
And I'm from Skellefteå.
Now, there are many ways you can divide Europe. You know, like you have the Mediterranean. Tomato for sale, tomato. The post-Iron Curtain. The Balkans. But everyone knows the further north you go, things start to get delicious and sweet.
Anyway, lots to cover. Let's look at the globe.
Sweden lies in the region of Scandinavia in northern Europe and is the largest of all the Scandinavian countries, the 5th largest in Europe and 3rd in the EU. The country is bordered by Norway to the west and north, and Finland in the northeast, separated by the Gulf of Bothnia otherwise between them. In this gulf, you can also find Sweden's 2 largest islands, Öland and Gotland. Otherwise in the south, the only other physical connection they technically have is with Denmark via the partially submerged and partially above ground Öresund Bridge that connects Malmö, the 3rd largest city, to Copenhagen. I'm trying my best with these pronunciations, bear with me. The country's largest city, though, and capital is Stockholm, located on the east side of the country, and it actually sits on 14 islands with over 50 bridges at the drainage of Lake Mälaren, with over 20 lakes and countless streams. This is why it is sometimes referred to as the Venice of the North. The country is divided into 21 counties, each abbreviated by a letter or double letter known as a country code. For the EU statistical system, though, the counties are grouped into 8 riksområden, or national areas, to address things like population data and so forth, but they in themselves do not have any administrative function. Otherwise, if you ask a Swede, they might revert back to the 3 traditional lands of Sweden, Norrland, Svealand, and Götaland. Technically, there was a 4th, Österland, which was basically South Finland when it was under Swedish rule, but that term hasn't been used since the 15th century. Anyway, Stockholm is also the central hub of economic activity and transportation. The largest and busiest airport is Stockholm's Arlanda International, which, like so many European international airports, is located super far from the actual city. It takes a 20-minute express train or 45-minute car drive drive to downtown. The second largest airport, Landvetter International, is located in the second largest city, Göteborg, or Gothenburg for the misguided English speakers. Göteborg actually also has the largest shipping port in the country and the largest in all of Scandinavia, taking in about a third of all Swedish trade activity. It lies on the Kattegat and Skagerrak, the shallow straits that open up Scandinavia to the rest of the world. With other major cities like Oslo and Copenhagen within radius, here about 70% of all industry and commerce through Scandinavia happens. It's a busy spot to say the least. Finally, the country has quite an organized system of roads and rail networks that more or less parallel each other. There are two main north-south highways, the E4 that hugs the entire Bothnia coast, and the E45, the longest road in the country that goes along the mountains inland from Göteborg all the way to the border with Finland in the north.
Also, it's important to note that Sweden claims to have the most islands out of any other country in the world, at over 260,000.
In any case, Sweden's domain wasn't always confined to these borders.
For starters, Sweden, being Scandinavian, obviously have Viking history. If you know anything about Vikings, you'll know that they went places.
They were literally in the Americas 500 years before Christopher Columbus.
And when they couldn't conquer an area, they still left their mark somehow. Even the Hagia Sophia in Turkey has runic inscriptions hidden on it.
It was like Viking graffiti, like Vikings were here.
On top of that, in the 1600s, Sweden started to become a European powerhouse, and like many other countries, took an attempt at settling and colonizing places outside of Europe.
At one point, Sweden had fortresses and colonies in the Americas, Africa, mostly in what now is Ghana.
Further, which it's more, within Sweden, you even have a few micronations.
We don't have time to get into each of them, but they're pretty interesting. One of them was made as a protest by an artist to protect those wooden sculptures.
Anyway, the developmental structure behind Sweden has a lot of history behind it.
Like Visby on Gotland Island, probably the best preserved medieval city in Scandinavia.
The Old Town Stockholm neighborhood of Gamla Stan was built as a fortress to protect against pirates.
Later on, one of your kings would actually become a pirate, but that's another story. In fact, the country has 15 UNESCO heritage sites, and actually, here's fellow geography Rebecca to explain a little bit more about the top notable sites of Sweden. Rebecca, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca, and if you're ever in Sweden, here are some of the most notable sites. There are plenty of notable castles, fortresses, and cathedrals, such as Drottningholm Castle, Gripsholm Castle, Örebro Castle, Visby Town Wall, Uppsala Cathedral, and St. Mary's Cathedral. Sweden also has the highest concentration of runestones in the world, with the most famous one being Rökstenen. There's also many historical Viking sites, such as Birka Viking Village, Trelleborgen, Old Uppsala, and Alestenar. If you're
Okay, so the Birka Viking Village, is that like a site where we could go and visit, you know, just to see it and learn about the history of it?
Yeah.
I would like to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like all of the UNESCO sites, or you can go see it, right?
Yeah, this should be open to the public. Okay. I don't see why not. I mean, look at how they're located.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like right there in the open where everybody can see.
Yeah, and it's a taste of the past, you know? I would love to go there and see it. But another question I had, like, what are the non-touristy spots for the Vikings, and just to learn about them and you know, their past? Let us know.
looking for more excitement, check out the theme parks Liseberg, Gröna Lund, and Skara Sommarland. Notable museums in Sweden are the Vasa Museum, ABBA Museum, Fotografiska, and the Museum of Natural History. In Stockholm, you can find the newly renamed Avicii Arena. It also acts as the sun in the largest scale model of our solar system. Thank you, and I hope you come to visit Sweden someday.
Thank you.
Fotografiska and the Museum of Natural History. In Stockholm, you can find the newly renamed Avicii Arena. It also acts as the sun in the largest scale model of our solar system. Thank you, and I hope you come to visit Sweden someday.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Speaking of Swedish places, like other Nordic countries, we have allemansrätten, which is the legal right to roam anywhere in nature.
Have you guys ever taken advantage of that allemansrätten thing?
Nice.
I mean, you just like pick berries and like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, most places are owned by the country, so you're allowed to be there.
Can you just like walk in someone's backyard and be like, hey,
No.
allemansrätten?
No, it has to be
Preferably
public
not.
land.
Well, speaking of roaming in nature, there's lots to explore in Sweden, which brings us to... Now, in the Nordics, each country kind of has their own trademark physical trait.
You know, Norway has the mountains and fjords.
Denmark has the flat grassy farms.
Finland is the land of lakes.
And Iceland is basically just one big volcano.
And then you get to Sweden, and it's like a little bit of everything. Yes, there's even a small sand volcano in Simrishamn.
Sweden lies on the Scandinavian peninsula of northern Europe, shared with Norway, on the east side of the Scandinavian mountain chain that separates them. Here you can also find the tallest peak, Kebnekaise, in the far north. This means that Sweden gets most of its river runoff from the mountains that mostly flow down into the Gulf of Bothnia, and the longest river shared with Finland being the Torne or Tornio River. The longest river fully within Sweden, though, being the Dalälven River. Amongst these rivers is an abundance of lakes and ponds peppering the flatter hilly valleys below, the largest of these lakes being Värnen and Vättern in the south. The reason Sweden has so many of these pockety lake zones and eroded rivets is because they sit on a post-glacial rebound zone. Basically, during the Ice Age, all this land was crushed by heavy ice, but after the ice melt, like a sponge, Sweden started to slowly spring back up again. This means every year Sweden recovers on average about 4 millimeters of land from the sea, in some places even more. This is why you might see extended piers from old homes that once used to be situated on the shore. The country has 4 general climate zones: the oceanic zone in the south by the Baltic Sea. This is also where most of the agriculture is situated. The continental zone is in the middle part of the country, and finally the subarctic in the north just above that. These areas have the highest forest concentration in the country. Also, the peaks of the mountains are classified as tundra. The top 15% of Sweden lies just north of the Arctic Circle, where the coldest temperatures and highest snowfall happens. Otherwise, in the south, they might not even get any snow at all in the winter. Just cold, depressing rain. Numbers fluctuate depending on which source you study, but somewhere around or above 60% of the country is forested, making it the second most forested country in Europe after Finland.
It's also important to note that Sweden has aprilväder, or April weather, in which,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the sun is finally out after 6 months of darkness. So clothes come off. We sit in the sun. Oh, whenever you see a Swede too, expect this. Facing the sun, eyes closed. And then all of a sudden a storm hits or snow comes or...
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where.
The interesting thing, though, is that Sweden in the past was kind of not much like what they are today. In fact, at the beginning of the 20th century, much of Scandinavia was struggling with widespread poverty.
However, much like Germany's Wirtschaftswunder, they had the rekordåren, in which Sweden's economy bursted with now industries and innovation.
And today you have the largest economy and most powerful nation in Northern Europe.
To explain a little bit more on the way Sweden takes what it has and flourishes, here's Noah. He's back!
Well, here we are. Once again, let's get to it. Despite having lush green lands, only about 7% of the country is arable. Therefore, agriculture isn't exactly their main focus. Today, much of Sweden's open market economy is heavily based on exports, especially in the timber and mining sectors. The largest mine in Kiruna is actually so large they are currently in the process of moving the town and residents to make more mines. This is how Sweden in the 21st century became the world's 6th largest iron ore exporter and 3rd largest
stainless steel.
Yeah. Before you say anything, I know for a fact that even underneath the homes and the locations around the homes, you're going to still get the same things that you're looking for the mine for, like for mining instance. You know what I'm saying?
That's why they want to move them.
That's anywhere though. They can go the opposite way.
Think about after hurricane season. This recent bad hurricane about 2 years ago, that happened and it flooded, you know, the area that we used to live in. And so these are homes that have been there for like 30 years, passed down in generations. And the government were paying them to move. And all but one person moved. And so they started building the what is it?
The plants.
The plants around the around his house, and he was literally the last one there. And they made a movie about it, so I don't know the update now, but like it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
You know, because it's like they're forcing the people to leave, and there's older people like that gentleman who don't want to leave their home. Like this is their home. They work hard to get this home, and now they're being told to leave. That goes to show that all money ain't good money.
Nah.
You know, some people, they're comfortable where they are.
So what if they all would have stayed? Like almost as like a protest, you know what I'm saying?
They would have used a natural disaster. And I'm just speaking of like our experience of where we're from. We're sure it may be different there, and the people may just say, hey, we're gonna get on up and leave so we can help our economy, you know?
How often does this happen? And when it does, like, do you guys take the offer? Do y'all just get up and go and let them knock the homes over and everything? And and what y'all do, like, how that works?
Yes, we would love to know real life stories of y'all perspectives.
steel exporter. And of course, lumber. The Swedes love trees so much that a long time ago during famine times, they would put crushed tree bark into their rye bread, which was actually good because the bark had lots of minerals and fiber. Go figure. The lumber industry plays a huge role in their world-renowned furniture commerce. We've all heard of IKEA having over 450 stores in about 60 countries. IKEA. They actually studied that in design school.
Is that true, Noah?
That is true. Not that I do it, but here we are. You might be familiar with other Swedish companies like Electrolux, Ericsson, H&M, Saab, Scania, Spotify, and of course the largest domestic company and only one on the Fortune 500 list, Volvo. Great cars, I might say. And that is that. Until we meet again.
Thank you, Noah.
Now, going off of business talk, domestically, Sweden does have a pretty complex system when it comes to taxes that plays into their fiscal structure.
As of 2021, their individual tax rates range from about 32% to 52% based on income bracket margins. And that's not even including other factors like corporate value-added taxes, which can be up to 25%.
When you add them, you get the second highest total tax revenue behind Denmark as a share of its country's income.
Yeah, that's you guys kind of have high taxes.
Well, we also have healthcare.
And good schools.
And good roads.
We get free food, roads.
Roads. In any case, another interesting thing about Sweden is its wildlife. And with that, here's Gary Harlow to explain.
Guess who's back? As a Nordic country, Sweden is obviously a place full of cold climate animals. In fact, they have the third highest number of their national animal, the moose, or the Eurasian elk, after Russia and Canada. There's so many moose that they actually have to hunt around 100,000 every year to maintain population control. Killing your national animal because there's too many? Go Sweden! There are 30 national parks and nature prediction zones, and the most famous being in the North Lapland area where reindeer, muskox, grey owls and brown bears can be spotted roaming freely. Fun fact.
See, it's this right here that's just pushing me to say, nope, that's Sierra, you won't make it.
Now, you have to be in a position to see how big a moose is to know not to go around these. Like, these things are huge.
Yes, it's the animals roaming freely for me.
Right, with no wolves running
like
attacks.
See, after we come out the airport, hold up, where's that?
Now it's right on the road, making sure you don't hit something, because we got to watch out for deers coming across our streets, you know. You guys got these big old mooses walking across our streets, and y'all know y'all deal with, like, icy roads a lot, too, so I've seen a video of a moose slipping on the road once.
Yeah. I saw one,
and
was it the moose
it didn't end too well.
Oh, yeah.
It went in the air. Literally.
Really?
Big as that thing was.
Oh, no.
Yeah, people cross the streets hitting the horn and everything, tell them to stop the car. But
I didn't see that video. I saw the one where they shed their
they horns down the antlers.
Yeah.
Really?
It made a lot of noise.
Oh.
Reindeer have climate-adapted feet in the summer. Their spongy foot pads are more exposed, which help with traction. But in winter, the pads shrink and the hoof is exposed, which helps cut into the ice when moving. Finally, Sweden is one of the few places in the world with a real taxidermised whale. The mouth used to be open for visitors to walk into, but it was closed off to the public because a couple was caught having sex in it. Speaking of making babies, I made one myself.
Yeah, ain't.
Was that Jonna churn?
Oh, you crazy.
And look at me, so country children. I mean children.
Oh man, y'all was crazy, bro. Y'all got caught. That's all that was. You got caught. You
where they was from?
Y'all was probably behind the lungs, weren't you?
Where they was from? What's that country that likes to?
I would.
You know.
Do?
Yeah.
I was gonna say Sweden, but I don't think it's Sweden.
No, we reacted to it.
We did. Could have Greece.
Yeah, it had to be Greece. It had to be Greece. I'm thinking of.
So you think Greece got caught in the red-handed?
Yeah, it was the Greeks.
Yeah, the Greeks.
Back there, just getting it on.
We saw y'all statues. So
that's a bucket list.
Oh,
a bucket list.
Well, look how they canceled out everybody else though. Now they can't go in the well.
Can't see the well.
The inside part.
Here's a photo of my daughter. She's beautiful.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, I remember the first meal I had in Sweden was reindeer meatballs. You guys love your reindeer. What's your favorite dishes in Sweden?
It probably is reindeer meatballs. Yeah.
I would say salmon. Grilled in the summer, oven baked in the winter.
Oh yeah, and you guys know fika, right? Yeah, fika. It's funny because coffee was actually banned from Sweden like 5 times in the 1700s. Wow. But that's another story. To explain a little bit more about fika and the food, here's Johan and Rikard. All right, guys. Well, this is fika. And to explain, here is Johan.
So, So in Sweden, fika is a huge tradition. It's something you do daily. It's a part of a workday break where you kind of like gather, you sit down and you have coffee. Historically, it's been that 7 types of cookies minimum plus cinnamon rolls and cardamom rolls and then pastries such as princess cakes and other things. Every day, but not necessarily this many sorts. I wanted to give you a cross section of what it could be. So, and then the most famous on the bottom.
We have been getting requests for a whole year to react to this episode. Who inviting us over for this? I like pastries. I'm not a sweet person.
I'm finna say cakes and stuff, but little small pastries, you can get bigger.
Yes, I'm not a sweet person, but I love presentations of food, and it just makes me happy. So who inviting us over?
Just to see it?
Yes.
Lord, I'll be the taste test since I'm the one that's always taste testing stuff anyway, and slide a few to my kids, our kids. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Bottom would be the princess cake.
Going on.
So if I'm going to try some, I have to have some marzipan. So many layers.
I know.
Wow.
Hello there, my name is Rick and I'm here to talk about some of the food. We have kroppkakor or palt, depending on if you are from the north or the south. Sill, or as you will call it, herring. We have reindeer, pea soup, cauliflower soup, surströmming or sour herring, but eat at your own risk. All of these foods can be eaten at the traditional smörgåsbord or smörgåsbord, basically a Swedish buffet. We also have Kalles or Charles caviar. It's a Swedish style of smoked cod roe, not that super expensive. And of course we have knäckebröd! And the traditional national dish of Sweden, Swedish tacos. Over to some drinks from Sweden. We have akvavit or flavored caraway liquor. Julmust on Christmas and påskmust on Easter. Glögg, we have glögg. And of course my personal favorite, punch. It's made by the mixing of spirits like arak, brandy or rum with arak tea with some sugar and water. Very sweet, very strong and very nice.
Thank you, Johan and Rika. Yeah, you guys also have something about like the alcohol in Sweden. Can you guys explain what is that?
It's called the Systembolaget, which is like the Swedish system of selling heavily regulated alcohol at state-owned stores at set prices.
So you can be 18 and go to a bar to get liquor, but you can't buy it at a store until you're 20. Correct.
Yeah, they look like they got more liquor in theirs than ours. They got 3.5% liquor.
That's a state store.
And that's just ours is like 2
What you
point
mean?
something percent liquor.
What are you talking about?
Check it out.
I'm not a liquor person now.
Nope, let me show you. Because if you look at it, it shows you, like, let's go, how much liquor percentage in the U.S.
Obviously, I'm not a drinker.
No, because when I seen
shared that story with y'all before.
Yeah, not liquor, alcohol. So how much alcohol, the
That's
percentage
liquor.
of alcohol. Yeah, basically. Which is usually about 5% alcohol. Okay, I think we got more. That's on mine.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Logic. You know?
Logic, yeah.
The way it goes is that Norwegian people go to Sweden to buy alcohol, Swedish people go to Denmark to buy alcohol, and Danish people go to Germany to buy alcohol.
You guys all have a system.
Yeah, we have a system for cheap alcohol.
So there's probably a bunch of 16-year-olds taking a ferry over to Denmark.
The ferry itself is a party.
I've been on that ferry. I've been on that ferry with my mom between Helsingborg and Helsingør. Oh, and a funny story, I was told when potatoes were introduced to Sweden, it was kind of like this. What are these things?
Well, obviously, liquor.
And that's how aquavit was born, supposedly. Oh, what's that thing about candy on Saturdays? Explain, Carolina.
Lördagsgodis. You get to eat candy on Saturdays. So when we were kids, we got a little amount of money. We got to run to the store and pick our favorite candy. It's amazing. Best in the world. I mean, yes, good ingredients. When you come here, pretty much half the ingredients of American candy is illegal in Sweden. So.
Yeah, we do that. Well, on that note, we've talked a lot about some of your small little traditions. Let's explain a little bit more in... I asked geography Johan to explain Swedish people and what they're like, and he described it something like this. A Swedish person is pretty reserved. They will definitely help you, but probably won't take the immediate initiative to help you. The way I see it, it's kind of like, oh no, I hope I don't fall. Oh, I'm falling. Oh, and I dropped my wallet. And I got the results of the test back. I definitely have breast cancer. Can you help me? Or...
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to help you?
Yeah,
oh my God. Yeah.
Also, what are some other kind of taboos in Swedish culture? What do you think?
I guess when you get on the bus, if there is another available seat and you go sit next to someone, don't do that. Just don't.
And don't have too much eye contact in general.
Introverted.
Preferably none.
Very
What is
introverted.
It's a law that basically tells you that don't think you're better than anyone. It's like, don't tell people that you got good grades. Just get them and move on.
But still, you know, kind of let them see it on you.
Yeah, it's definitely based on status.
Lagom is this word that does not exist in English, and it basically means not too much, not too little, just the perfect amount. I would say that a Swedish person is generally intelligent. Is that full of myself saying that?
Nah, it's just a result of our educational system.
That's right.
But part of your culture, jantelon, you're not allowed to do that, right?
Well, we're not allowed to brag, no, but now we're in America, so...
Well, that was a discussion. Any case, let's
go ahead and get that. I wonder how those conversations go to, like, when you want to express that you're, you know, you're making great results in life, or you're successful in the area, you know what I'm saying? Or your children just did good or something. Like, how you say these things in the conversation without it being braggish.
They would just think we're brag. I am interested to see what y'all think of us.
Unless you said in the most nonchalant way. Yep.
Yeah, I just graduated, you know.
Graduated today.
But I'm going to work now.
Just got a new job. Pretty dope. Getting paid $100 an hour. Yeah.
That's interesting. What do you guys
you know what I'm
think
saying?
of
So
us?
like,
because we do have a lot of Swedish supporters who've been following us for like at least the last year.
and I gotta look in your eyes when we're having a conversation. Like, the contact has to be there. I gotta let you know that I'm engaging with what you're saying. You gotta feel it. Like, I'm feeling what you're saying. Like, it has to be like that.
Yeah, we would love to know that. I'm interested. Because I don't feel like we're the typical stereotypical Americans. I don't feel like we are at all. We're us, the Demouchets.
That's it. That's all.
break down the population of Sweden.
Sweden has a population of about 10.25 million and has one of the oldest populations in the world at about 41 years of age on average. About 75% of the country claims to be ethnically Swedish, and this is where things get a little complicated. For the remaining 25%, the Swedish government doesn't have any official statistical data on foreign background, but what we do know is that of these people, about 2 million of them were born abroad, and about 600,000 were born in Sweden as second generation with foreign parents. We also know that as of 2020, due to the refugee crisis, the largest immigrant communities had origins mostly from Syria and Iraq, which surpassed Finland and Poland in the 21st century for the largest foreign-born communities.
Yeah, we'll talk about the refugee thing later. But in the meantime,
Sweden uses the Swedish krona as its currency.
And we use the type C and F plug outlets. And we drive on the right side of the road. But we used to drive on the left side until September 3rd, 1967.
When the högertrafiksomläggningen was instituted.
And it was a crazy time. People were all confused and jamming into each other. In Sweden, the official language is, shocker, Swedish.
But the funny thing is, even though Swedish originated and has pretty much always been spoken natively in Sweden, Swedish actually only became official in the country in 2009.
Yeah, they kept kind of arguing about it. It was like,
no, it might be seen as more difficult for international issues. It might be seen as discriminatory maybe for those who don't speak Swedish. God!
So let's break this down. The country is called Sweden. What the do you think people should speak in Sweden?
And that's how Swedish became the official language of Sweden.
We've explained this before, but the three Scandinavian countries can all more or less understand each other. If you learn one, you can pretty much kind of communicate with the others. It's just, you know, when they hear Danish, it's like,
oh, hey, Denmark.
And the interesting thing is that the Swedish language has pitches.
Here's Geography Marcus to explain a little bit more.
So yeah, Swedish is a very hard language to learn. We also have pitch dialect. Some words look and are pronounced exactly the same, but have different meanings. So the word plan, it can mean a plan, like having a great plan. It can also mean pitch, like a football pitch, fotbollsplan. Banan, which means banana, but if you pronounce it banan, it means the track.
Thank you, Marcus.
In any case, on top of that, there are also
Y'all want to see us learn y'all language?
I think y'all like that. I think we would kill it. We you know what I'm saying? We'd be getting a lot of pats on the back.
We did Germany good, kind of.
I think we did pretty good.
I think we did good.
There was another one.
We're going to try it.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good.
We're going to try it. That looked easy to learn.
It does.
Protected languages in Sweden: Finnish, Menkal, Sami, Romani, and Yiddish.
Also, Sweden has a lot of regional accents.
If she spoke her native language right now, or
you don't even say dialect, you say language.
Native dialect, I wouldn't understand a word.
Say the most difficult southern Swedish thing you can say.
Okay, this is not my accent, okay? Disclaimer. Det är nämnt men tradigt att köra rullable.
It is easy but difficult to drive a roller coaster.
Wheelbarrow, but that was really good.
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Thought.
You thought wheelbarrow was roller coaster. Whoa! In any case, Christianity was introduced in the 9th century. Today, most Swedes, regardless of their level of religious devotion or lack thereof, are at least registered with the Swedish Lutheran Church.
And like the Danes and Norwegians, they have their confirmation ceremonies at age 14 or 15.
In old times, ancient Swedes and the Norse people followed the Asatro religion, where Thor, Odin, Loki, all of them were from.
Otherwise, Sweden is a constitutional monarchy, although they are mostly seen as just figurehead celebrities with almost no actual legislative power.
And today, the royal family is actually French descended.
For what it's worth, being the largest of the Scandinavian countries, Sweden has a lot on its plate.
In general, most people would say that the system works. Yes, we do have one of the highest life expectancies in the world at over 82 years.
People get paid to go to schools they are accepted in.
Healthcare is free for people under 18. Dental is free for anyone under 23.
Otherwise, there are price caps for medical and pharmaceutical services, and they are usually cheap.
However, for the population, there is a bit of a shortage in medical facilities, and like most state-subsidized healthcare systems, wait times can be an issue sometimes, and they follow...
Yeah, but at the same time, when we first was getting involved with people living abroad, they was getting more bang for their buck. They was having fun.
Yeah, but the wait time is the only thing I would be like, I don't know about that.
Especially if you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, in pain.
I've been in that position before.
Imagine, remember last year after we had Sienna, I had my my tooth pain.
Yeah.
That pain right there, as a person who delivered a child naturally at home with my husband. That tooth pain, baby, it was up here with the childbirth, okay?
Yeah.
Imagine me having to wait on that.
Hey, I was finna say you didn't have to, but it did push your day back.
Yeah,
so that kind of made you.
I had to wait a week.
Yeah, kind of. But when you went in, you went
straight
in.
But that was my fault because I kept thinking that it wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, of course you play by ear, try to make sure you get your bodies right.
The 0-30-90-90 rule. This rule states that a person cannot wait more than 90 days to see a specialist and 90 days after diagnosis to receive surgery unless it is deemed an emergency. This means that the worst case scenario, potentially, it could take almost half a year to get treated.
This is one reason why 1 out of 10 Swedes actually prefer private insurance, which was, made available in 2010 rather than relying on universal healthcare system.
Otherwise, we aren't going to fully sugarcoat this episode. Everyone knows that Sweden has seen quite a few drastic changes in the past decade or so. During the 2014-15 refugee crisis, Sweden saw a wave of asylum seekers, mostly from Syria and Iraq.
Obviously, this unexpected influx in such a short time, barely allowing the new immigrants time to integrate, kind of played out in many ways that made international news.
Now, this is where the narrative kind of steps on thin ice because you want to be seen as compassionate, but you also can't avoid the fact that statistically, problems that quiet Sweden had never really seen before obviously kind of started to arise. We've seen the news features, riots, multiple cities, crime rising, but at the same time, you also want to be seen as compassionate, but without sidestepping the issues. So the question was, how?
Well, it's not an easy question to answer.
So, I don't know, what do you guys think of that whole situation of the drama?
You can see it as either win-win or lose-lose in many ways, because if you're completely against taking in immigrants, you're basically considered a racist. And if you're trying to turn a blind eye to the fact that, crime has risen a lot the last years, then that's not great either. So I think this is a fairly new problem, and it takes some time to really figure it out.
It's difficult.
And kind of a discussion of how to help people, integrate into the society in general.
Swedish society.
I think integration is keyword.
Half the people are gonna argue for all the benefits of opening our country up and helping people, and those are huge as well.
Yeah. See, this is kind of part of the complication of Sweden. There's always like a dichotomy of ethics and consequences within their story. For example, they've been neutral, or at least on paper, for 200 years, yet that neutrality has always kind of been tested throughout the time.
In World War I, our choice not to intervene pretty much costed us the chance to integrate the Åland Islands.
And in World War II, Sweden took like almost all of Denmark's Jewish refugees. However, they did trade with Nazi Germany and let them use the railroad.
But it's like, what other choice did they have when they just witnessed and saw Denmark getting demolished and attacked and occupied in like 6 hours? It's like, do you stay neutral yet technically cooperate, or fight back with no chance and lose everything? So many heavy choices with no simple answers. Well, that was fantastic and uplifting.
In any case, we must move on. One thing Sweden definitely does actually feel uplifted by would be their heavy involvement in sports.
And with that, Art usually fills in for the sports part, but again, he's still on vacation with his family, so I don't know. Noah, why don't you fill in? All right, Noah, you got to be Art this time. He's gone, so you know.
No, you missed the do, and you go too.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Sports in Sweden. Fun fact, they actually won a half medal at the 1900 Olympics, technically. They teamed up with Denmark in the tug-of-war event. Yes, there actually used to be a tug-of-war event in the Olympics. That does sound pretty cool. Why would you get rid of that? I go to the Olympics to do tug-of-war. That'd be pretty awesome.
You could just be your own team, Noah.
There are two sports that kind of originated in Sweden, brandball and floorball. Brandball is kind of like baseball, and floorball is basically like hockey with a ball on the floor. So the thing about Sweden is that each of their neighbors is kind of like their biggest rivals in a certain sport. And of course, we can't mention football without mentioning their biggest player, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But depending on who you ask, many people might say that ice hockey is the national sport. In 2006, they became the first and so far only team to win both tournaments in the same calendar year, Olympics and World Championships. They're part of the Big Six that are considered the best ice hockey teams in the world, including Canada, Czechia, Finland, Russia, and the United States. That's the sports parts.
Thank you, Noah. So much culture in Sweden. Actually, if you want to learn more about it, just read The Adventures of Niels. He rides a goose around Sweden and learns some life lessons along the way or something.
With that, here's Random Hannah with culture stuff.
Hey guys, I'm back. Woo! In Sweden, you'll find that every region has its unique identity. For example, the Sami people of Lapland in the north, they have their reindeer herding, tents, and cult or yakti clothing. If you go to the...
They give me Christmas vibes, just by looking at them. With the colorful red and the white, and then the big reindeers, the big old white reindeers.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
With the reindeers, that's what they were talking about earlier.
South in Skåne, though, you'll find a radically different culture of glass blowing and silversmithing, stuff like that. Of course, we don't have time to dive into all the regions, but one thing you'll realize is that they all have a traditional costume, or folkdräkter. One thing you will see all over Sweden is a typical redwood farmhouse. They also have the Dalahus, a wooden horse usually painted red with patterns. And speaking of
what is the community called? They remind me of the community, you know, with all of the men, they moved the houses.
Oh,
Dang, what's the community called?
they wear hats. Don't they have hats?
Yes.
Give us a second as we go into
Amish?
our
Amish, the Amish community. Yeah,
they
the
lift
Amish
the whole
community.
house and they moved it, and that's how they get their job. That's how they get the job done.
Yes, and their food we hear is good. They make everything from scratch and all that. So yeah, this is who they remind me of. I wonder if there's any
link in that?
Yeah.
Connection.
animals, Swedes actually love Donald Duck, even more than Mickey Mouse. And every year during Christmas, they show Donald Duck and his friends wish you a Merry Christmas on the TV. Sweden also has many notable individuals in the arts and literature department. And probably the most critically well known is Anders Zorn, who is commissioned to paint numerous high-profile figures. Swedes are known for their crime, fiction, drama, and literature. They love the complex, moody scenarios. Many people attribute this guy, I'm not even going to try and say his name, as the founder of modern Scandinavian crime fiction. But the #1 best-selling Swedish author of all time is actually Astrid Lindgren. You've probably heard of her Pippi Longstocking series. And speaking of consumable media, if you want to learn about...
Now, I don't talk about my personal life on here too often, but I am a literature geek. Okay, I had the 2 big, tall Pippi Longstocking dolls when I was a little girl. Like the boy and the girl, I used to braid her hair and leave her on my bed all day and say, "I'll be back after school."
I would have been spooked out with that.
No, that was my friends.
Okay? I hear you, but I would have been spooked out. I remember my sister having this life-size doll. Could have been that, you know what I'm saying?
It was my height.
I think she kept it in the doorway kind of to scare us from going in her room. So that's kind of like my little trauma story behind big dolls.
You crazy. That's funny. My story was, don't come in my room and take nothing because my friends are watching.
Oh, you see? Yeah, I would have been spooked. You got that. Keep it.
Culture, history, and geography through film. Check out Filmography Now, where we talk about people like Ingmar Bergman, who is a huge influential person in the film industry, and he was from Sweden. Finally, Sweden is known for having a ton of inventions and discoveries, such as nicotine gum, the pacemaker, the 3-point seatbelt, GPS, the ultrasound, dynamite, and the Celsius temperature scale. And 4 elements on the periodic table were named after the town Ytterby.
Oh, that's us, y'all.
Ytterberg. I give up, guys. Too many strange vowels and sounds. And one thing you should give up on is Keith and his music segment. Take it away, Keith.
Wow, so we're finally talking about this country that I have, like, totally not any sort of bias towards. Oh, wait, hold on. I think I'm forgetting something. I hope everybody recognizes my favorite Swedish band right here. Let's talk about Sweden, shall we? Technically, Sweden doesn't have a national anthem. So they have this one song. It's called Du Gamma Du Fria. I guess it's the de facto anthem, but not the official one. There's tons of really great Swedish folk songs accompanied by the Swedish nickel harp. Kind of looks like a keyboard mixed with like a violin. Who likes Strandberg guitars? I do. Just so many great guitar players. Per Nelson, greatest guitar player I think out of Sweden. There's also Yngwie Malmsteen, Ola Öglund, Michael Ackerfeldt. I don't understand why Scandinavia has produced some of the world's greatest guitar players. Anyways, Sweden has also a very pop-centric side. Who doesn't know ABBA? I Want to Be a Dancing Queen. ABBA won in 1974 for the Eurovision contest. Also, now ABBA's actually going to be making a new album after doing 40 years of basically nothing. Wow. Since then, Sweden has been kind of the pioneers of like electro-pop and dance music. More well-known artists might be like Avicii, the Carnigans, Swedish House Mafia, Roxette. Funny thing is a lot of American pop songs were written by Swedes. Max Martin has hundreds of songs. Before I go, some of the bands that I really do enjoy are Opeth, Meshuggah, Pain of Salvation, Sabaton, there's Beardfish. I wish I could name them all. Anyways, you guys have a great one. Love y'all.
Thank you, Keith. Any music suggestions for Swedish music?
Robin. She's a great musician.
Benjamin Ingrosso is killing it.
Well, speaking of which, Carolina is a musician and an artist, and you can follow her Spotify at this link right here.
No.
Well, I will promote it. I will promote your Spotify. Don't be all Logum or Yantalo and whatever that is on me. You got to promote yourself. This is America.
So far, released 3 Swedish songs, 1 English one.
You want to promote anything? You have a website? Anything?
No.
You were in a Norwegian movie and it got an Emmy Award.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, your music has touched the world. You got to promote yourself. This is America.
So far, released 3 Swedish songs, 1 English one.
You want to promote anything? You have a website? Anything?
No.
You were in a Norwegian movie and it got an Emmy Award.
And he got an Emmy Award. Off the rip.
Nominated.
Yeah, this him in the blue. It gotta be him in the blue.
That's
yeah.
We're gonna have to go check this out.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, your music has touched the world in so many ways. And another way Sweden has made its name across the world is by interacting with it. So let's move on to the friend zone.
So I get to stop the video next year. Who do you think their friends are? Because you always ask me and I'm going to be having the right answers. I don't think I ever got one right, y'all. So we're going to just leave these moments for C.
Sweden looks like they're out the way. They don't want no problems.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to know your business.
Yeah.
Just leave me alone.
So that's a tough one. Who would they be like good friends with, compatible with, people they work with? I mean,
the people around them.
Do they make eye contact?
Yeah, they just act like it's not nothing going on, child. It's all peace and flowers.
So he made a comment about how you could be going through the most worst thing ever, falling, drowning, any of the thing, and they would look at you.
Unless you ask for the help.
And then they would try to help you like right when you're at your last leg.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I'm gonna interject right here.
Yeah.
We see y'all watching. Okay. We saw a lot of Swedish supporters start supporting us around last summer. You know, summer for us is like around May to July. Y'all may have been watching and just watching. Hit the subscribe button.
Definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
We telling you to hit the subscribe button. We're 5,000 away from 100K.
Yeah, big facts.
Now, Sweden has an interesting way of dealing with the rest of the world.
They kind of have a hands-off unless really necessary approach to international conflict.
For one, their security doctrine states that they have a nonpartisan stance in regards to military alliances. However, it permits cooperation with threats against peace security with their military. Yes, Sweden has a military. Nonetheless, they joined the EU in 1995, which some criticized as being against neutrality, but Sweden decided to see it as an extension of economic activity that had already been going on with the EU, and they also hold the right to not participate in EU defense. Today, they have 79 embassies abroad on all inhabited continents. In Asia, Iraq actually has had relations way before conflict years, dating back to the 30s, when members of the royal family visited Baghdad to see King Ghazi of Iraq. In the 80s, Swedish companies opened up in Iraq, trade was developing well for a while, and after conflict years, many Iraqis chose Sweden as their destination as refugees. The USA and Canada have always been close, as the US has the largest Swedish diaspora community at over 4 million people, most heavily concentrated in Minnesota. Canada having just about 500,000 with a huge community in Manitoba. Between 1820 to 1930, about 1.3 million Swedes immigrated to the Americas, which was at that time about 1/3 of the entire country. And today, these nations not only had a close historical bond, but in almost every diplomatic measure aside from military conflict, they've cooperated. Bringing it closer to home, Sweden is actually one of the top donors of Moldova in regards to aid and development. They set a strategy of cooperation in 2007, which gives 11 million euros dedicated to good governance, economy, and rural development. Now we go even closer to the inner circle, the Nordics. Every single one of these 5 nations and their territories has an opinion about Sweden, and the gossip is heavy. Finland is, of course, really close, as for about 600 years they were actually a part of Sweden. And today, Finns are one of the largest non-Swedish communities with a protected language in pockets throughout the country. For Iceland, it's like, we're cool with them, nothing against them. They talk like our ancient Norse ancestors, but otherwise, they're totally our distant cousins. Then we get to the last two, Denmark and Norway. Now here's the thing, each one kind of has a small historical gripe with Sweden. Denmark, as you know, has had more wars with Sweden than any 2 nations on Earth, constantly fighting over influence for Northern Europe. Norway was kind of pissed that Sweden's neutrality prevented them from intervening in war times when they thought the Swedish were like really close, and Norway was even part of Sweden. This was especially evident in World War II. It was like the moment of tension. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, you cannot separate the Scandinavian trio. They just get each other too well. They share too much, they have the same general Scandinavian minds, they have that Viking blood, they are truly people of the North. After the insults have been hurled, they will probably say, okay, yeah, we love each other. Denmark and Sweden, though, will probably first hug Norway before hugging each other, but otherwise, yeah, inseparable trio.
Alright, and in conclusion, you are the Swedes. I'm gonna step out, hold the flag in the background while you speak freely from the heart.
I want to say in conclusion, Sweden is a beautiful country with beautiful nature, beautiful architecture, if we haven't mentioned that just yet.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, if you meet a Swedish person, he or she might be a little I'm not sure about you, but lead on with a smile and some love, and you'll get the exact same back, I promise you.
I like that, that was good. Alright, well thank you guys so much for being in this episode.
Thank you.
And stay tuned, Switzerland is coming up next.
Yo, that was a lot. But at the end of the day, I like their closing statements because they kind of spoke directly to us when it came to how, and we like that. We're going to smile, we're going to lead with love, and we're going to embrace you as we do others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Sweden seems cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind learning more about Sweden.
Let's get to the language. Let's get that out the way right now.
Yeah, well, I said that I wanted to learn it.
You said it. That's what we. No, we're gonna stand on it. You said it. We're gonna try to get through it. Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be another funny video.
Gotta be.
Yeah, so this was cool. We love learning about it. Again, it was a lot of information, but a lot of valuable information.
100.
It gave us a more sense of who you guys are at your core, and we truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like to support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request form is in our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.